When Margaret opened this envelope, she uncovered a crime hidden for 40 years. 3 weeks earlier, her life shattered. Margaret Hayes, everyone calls her Maggie, is 62 years old. For 38 years, she's worked the night shift at St. Benedict's Hospital in Billings, Montana, 3 months from retirement. Divorced. She raised her daughter Emma alone after her husband died in a mining accident when Emma was just 2 years old. On this particular evening, Maggie sits in the break room, staring at her phone. The text from Emma reads, "Mom, the chemo isn't working. Dr. Stevens says maybe 3 months." Before we dive deeper into this mystery, take a moment to tell us where you're watching from. Drop your country in the comments below. If you're already hooked by Margaret's story, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another incredible tale. Now, let's get back to the night that changed everything. Emma is 39. Stage 4 leukemia. She needs a bone marrow transplant to survive. Maggie tested she's not a match. Emma's father has been dead for decades. There's no other family, no siblings, no cousins, no one. The doctors have been clear. Without a transplant, Emma has months to live, maybe less. Maggie has spent her entire career saving lives. Now, when it matters most, she's helpless. She can't save her own daughter, but Maggie refuses to give up. She starts searching, desperately reaching out to distant relatives, ancestry websites, donor registries, anything, anyone who might be a match. And that's when she makes a decision that will change everything. She orders a DNA test, not for herself, but hoping it might reveal some unknown relative, someone who could save Emma. 3 weeks later, that envelope arrives, and inside it, Maggie discovers something she never expected. 3 weeks pass. Maggie is working another night shift when suddenly chaos erupts in the emergency room. A helicopter descends onto the hospital roof. Rotors thundering. Security personnel flood the building. A man is rushed through the doors on a stretcher. Helicopter skiing accident in the Rockies. Compound fracture. Possible internal bleeding. Critical condition. The hospital administrator himself appears to escort the patient. That's when Maggie knows this isn't just anyone. She recognizes him immediately. James Caldwell, 64 years old, tech billionaire. Net worth $8.3 billion. He founded Caldwell Technologies 3 decades ago and built it into one of the most powerful companies in America. But Caldwell isn't just known for his wealth. He's famous for his philanthropy. Children's hospitals across the country bear his name. He's donated hundreds of millions to cancer research. Just 6 months ago, he announced a $500 million commitment to pediatric oncology, the largest single donation in the field's history. Maggie watches as they wheel him past. Here is a man who has funded the very research that might one day cure diseases like Emma's. A man whose money flows into cancer treatment centers while her daughter, her only child, is dying from the disease he's pledged to fight. The irony isn't lost on her. Maggie returns to her rounds, trying to focus. But she can't stop thinking about it. This man has everything: money, power, influence, the ability to save thousands of lives with a single check, and here she is, a nurse, 3 months from retirement, watching her daughter slip away because she can't find a bone marrow match. What Maggie doesn't know yet, what she couldn't possibly know, is that James Caldwell is connected to her in a way no one could imagine. A connection that spans 4 decades. A connection built on lies, secrets, and a crime that's about to be exposed. The DNA test results are waiting at home, and when Maggie finally opens that envelope, everything she thinks she knows about her life will shatter. Maggie is assigned to Caldwell's post-op care. He's heavily sedated, recovering from surgery. She moves through her routine, checking vitals, adjusting the IV, monitoring his breathing. She reaches for his arm to check his blood pressure, rolls up his sleeve, and then she freezes. On his inner left forearm, there's a birthmark, a port wine stain, shaped distinctly like a maple leaf about 2 inches across, dark purple with a unique swirl pattern at the edges. Maggie's breath catches in her throat. She knows this birthmark. 23 years ago, when Emma was a baby, Maggie would change her diaper and kiss that exact same mark on her daughter's inner left forearm. Same shape, same size, same location. She used to call Emma her little maple leaf. The birthmark was so distinctive that Maggie had shown it to doctors, worried it might need treatment. They assured her it was benign, harmless, just a quirk of genetics. They told her these port wine stains run in families, run in families. Maggie stares at James Caldwell's arm. Her mind races. This can't be coincidence. Identical birthmarks, same exact location, same unique shape. The odds are astronomical. But how? Why? Emma's father died when she was 2. There's no family connection to James Caldwell. None. Maggie has never met this man before tonight. They have no history, no shared relatives. So why do her daughter and this billionaire have the exact same birthmark? Maggie's hands tremble as she finishes taking his blood pressure. She tries to rationalize it. Coincidence. It has to be. But deep down, something tells her this is impossible. This means something. And whatever it means, Maggie needs to find out. Maggie stumbles out of Caldwell's room into the hallway. Her legs feel weak. Her head is spinning. Dr. Patricia Rodriguez, a colleague for 15 years, notices immediately. "Maggie, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Maggie can't speak. She waves Patricia off, mumbling something about being tired. But her mind is racing. You see, Maggie knows something most people don't. Identical birthmarks, especially distinctive port wine stains like this, can be hereditary. They're passed down through families. Genetic markers that appear in the same location, generation after generation. Her husband Michael had that exact same birthmark on his inner left forearm, the maple leaf shape. He'd shown it to her when they first started dating. Told her his father had it too, 3 generations of the same mark. When Emma was born with it, Maggie thought it was beautiful, proof that she carried Michael's legacy, a connection to the man she'd lost too soon. But now, standing in this hospital hallway, Maggie's mind starts doing math she doesn't want to do. Michael died 39 years ago. Emma is 39 years old. James Caldwell is 64. He would have been 25 when Emma was born. And he has the birthmark, the same birthmark. Maggie's chest tightens. No, this is insane. Michael was Emma's father. Of course he was. They were married. They were trying for a baby. Emma has his eyes, his smile, his birthmark. But what if? No, impossible. Maggie forces herself to breathe. She's exhausted, stressed. Watching her daughter die, she's seeing connections that aren't there. Coincidences happen. 2 people can have similar birthmarks. It doesn't mean anything, except it does mean something. Deep down, Maggie knows it, because this isn't just similar, it's identical. Same shape, same size, same location, same swirl pattern. And birthmarks like this don't just randomly appear in unrelated people. They're passed through bloodlines. Maggie leans against the wall, trying to steady herself. Her mind keeps circling back to one question she's terrified to ask. What if Michael wasn't Emma's biological father? What if James Caldwell is? But that would mean... No, it's impossible. She would know, wouldn't she? What Maggie doesn't realize yet is that this birthmark is about to unravel everything she thought she knew about her life, her marriage, and her daughter. And it all goes back to one night in 1985. Maggie can't sleep. After her shift ends, she drives home in a daze. The sun is rising over Billings, but she barely notices. Inside her house, she goes straight to her bedroom closet, reaches up to the top shelf, pulls down an old shoebox she hasn't opened in decades. Inside are photos from 1985, her and Michael as newlyweds, Michael in his mining gear smiling at the camera, their tiny apartment, their wedding day. She sorts through them slowly, her hands shaking. And then she finds one that makes her stop cold. A company picnic. Michael's mining company threw it every summer. In the photo, Maggie is visibly pregnant, about 6 months along. Michael has his arm around her, protective and proud. They're both smiling. But it's not them that catches Maggie's attention now. It's the background, slightly out of focus, maybe 20 feet behind them. A young man in an expensive suit, completely overdressed for a casual company picnic. He's talking to the mine owner, Mr. Henderson. The young man looks important, official. Maggie gets up and finds a magnifying glass. Her heart is pounding. She holds the glass over the photo, focusing on the young man's face. And there he is. A younger James Caldwell, 25 years old, same sharp jawline, same intense eyes, same posture. Maggie's hands tremble so badly she nearly drops the photo. Why would James Caldwell have been at a small mining company picnic in Montana? A man who would go on to build a tech empire worth billions. What was he doing there? Unless he wasn't a billionaire yet, Maggie's mind races. 1985. Caldwell would have been just starting out. Maybe he was there on business. Maybe his company was connected to the mine somehow. An investor, a consultant, something. But why can't she remember him? She was there that day, 6 months pregnant. She should remember a man in a suit standing out like that. She flips the photo over. On the back, in Michael's handwriting, company picnic, July 1985, best summer of my life. July 1985. Emma was born 3 months later, October. Maggie sits on the edge of her bed, staring at the photo. Her entire body feels numb. This can't be coincidence anymore. The birthmark, the photo, the timeline. Something happened that summer, something she doesn't remember, or something she was never told. Maggie opens her laptop. Her fingers hover over the keyboard for a moment before she types. James Caldwell, 1985. What she finds stops her cold. In 1985, James Caldwell was 24 years old, fresh out of Stanford with a degree in geology. And before he became a tech billionaire, before Caldwell Technologies, before any of it, he worked for Peterson Mining Corporation. The same company Michael worked for. Maggie scrolls frantically through articles, press releases, old business records. Caldwell was there for 8 months, a junior geologist. He left in December of 1985 to start his tech company with venture capital he'd somehow secured. 8 months, July to December, right when Maggie was pregnant with Emma. She keeps searching, page after page. Then she finds an old newspaper article from the Billings Gazette, archived and yellowed. The headline reads, Peterson Mining closes Montana operation after accident, 3 dead, including foreman Michael Hayes. Maggie has read this article before, years ago, but she never looked closely. Never had a reason to. Now she reads every word. The accident happened in a restricted area of the mine. Michael wasn't supposed to be there. Neither were the 2 other men who died. The article mentions an ongoing investigation into why they were in that section. Something about an experimental extraction process Peterson Mining had been testing. But then, at the bottom, a follow-up line. Investigation closed. Company cites equipment malfunction. No criminal negligence found. Closed, just like that. Maggie searches for more. There should be reports, safety records, witness statements, but there's almost nothing. The investigation was shut down within 2 weeks, unusually fast for an accident that killed 3 men. Peterson Mining closed the Montana operation entirely 6 months later, sold off the assets. The company itself dissolved 2 years after that, and James Caldwell. He was gone long before the accident, left in December. Started Caldwell Technologies in Silicon Valley with funding that, according to one business journal, came from private investors who recognized his vision. Maggie sits back, her mind spinning. A mining accident, a billionaire who worked at the same company, an investigation that closed too quickly, and a birthmark that connects her daughter to a man she never knew was part of her life. These can't be coincidences, but how do they connect? What happened in those 8 months, and why can't Maggie remember James Caldwell being there at all? Maggie drives to the hospital, not St. Benedict's where she works, but Billings General where Emma is being treated. She finds her daughter in room 412. Emma is awake but weak. The chemo has taken everything from her hair, her energy, her color. She looks so small in that hospital bed, fragile, like she might disappear. But when Emma sees her mother, she smiles. That same smile she's had since she was a little girl. "Hey, Mom." Maggie sits beside the bed and takes Emma's hand. They've had the same conversation 100 times now. No siblings, no cousins, no extended family to test for bone marrow compatibility. Every avenue exhausted, every registry searched. Nothing. Maggie looks down at their joined hands, at the birthmark on Emma's inner forearm, the maple leaf. She's looked at that mark 1,000 times, but now it feels like she's seeing it for the first time. "Emma, honey," Maggie begins carefully. "I need to ask you something. Have you ever wondered about your dad's family, your paternal grandfather?" Emma's eyes flicker with confusion. "Mom, we've been through this. Dad was an only child. His parents died before I was born. There's no one. It's a dead end." She's right. That's what Maggie always believed, what Michael told her. His parents passed away when he was young. No siblings, no aunts or uncles, just him, but Maggie knows something now that changes everything. "What if I told you," she says slowly, "there might be someone?" Emma sits up slightly, wincing from the effort. "What, who, Mom, what are you talking about?" Maggie's throat tightens. How does she explain this? How does she tell her daughter that everything they thought they knew might be a lie? "I don't know yet," Maggie admits. "But I'm looking into something. I need you to trust me, okay?" Emma studies her mother's face. "You're scaring me. I know, I'm sorry, but if there's even a chance, any chance that there's family we don't know about, someone who could be a match, then we have to try," Emma finishes. She squeezes Maggie's hand. "Whatever it is, Mom, whatever you need to do." Maggie nods, fighting back tears. She's about to make a decision that will either save her daughter's life or destroy everything they've ever believed about their family. And the clock is ticking. Emma's doctors have given her 3 months, maybe less. But getting answers, running tests, verifying paternity, that could take weeks. Months even. Maggie has 72 hours to decide. 72 hours to figure out if James Caldwell really is Emma's biological father. And if he is, 72 hours to decide whether she's willing to expose a secret that's been buried for 40 years. Maggie returns to St. Benedict's for her next shift. Her stomach is in knots, but she knows what she has to do. James Caldwell is awake now, recovering well. The doctors say he'll be discharged in 2 days, back to his private jet, his empire, his life. 2 days, that's all the time Maggie has. She takes a breath and enters his room. He's sitting up in bed, laptop open, already working despite the IV still in his arm. Typical billionaire, can't stop, even after major surgery. "Mr. Caldwell?" Her voice is steadier than she feels. "I'm Margaret, your night nurse." He glances up briefly, then back to his screen. "Thank you for the care, I'll be fine." Professional, dismissive, she's just another nurse to him. Maggie hesitates. Every instinct tells her to leave it alone, walk away. But Emma's face flashes in her mind. 3 months, maybe less. "I noticed your birthmark," she says. "It's quite distinctive." Now he looks at her, really looks at her. His eyes narrow slightly. "Yes, genetic, runs in my family." "How far back?" The question seems to puzzle him. He sets down his laptop. "My father had it, his father too, supposedly. Why do you ask?" Maggie's heart is pounding so hard she's certain he can hear it. This is it, the moment she can't take back. "Because my daughter has the exact same birthmark," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. And so did my husband, Michael Hayes, who worked for Peterson Mining in 1985, the same time you did. The color drains from James Caldwell's face. For a moment, he doesn't move, doesn't speak. Just stares at her like she's a ghost. Then his jaw tightens. I think you're confused. Am I? Maggie steps closer. Because I found a photo from a company picnic, July 1985, you're in it, and I was 6 months pregnant. Caldwell's hand grips the bed rail. You need to leave. My daughter is dying, Maggie's voice cracks. She has leukemia, she needs a bone marrow transplant, and there's no family to test. But if you're, get out. His voice is cold now, sharp. I don't know what you think you know, but you're wrong. Leave now. But his reaction tells Maggie everything. He knows exactly who she is, and he knows exactly what happened in 1985. The question is, what is he so desperate to hide? Caldwell stares at her. The silence stretches for what feels like an eternity. Then quietly he speaks. Close the door. Maggie hesitates, then does as he asks. Her hands are trembling. When she turns back, Caldwell is watching her with an expression she can't read. Fear, regret, something deeper. What's your daughter's name? He asks. Emma Hayes. And your husband was? Michael Hayes. He died in the mining accident, August 1985. Caldwell closes his laptop slowly, sets it aside. His hands are shaking. Maggie notices because she's a nurse, because she's trained to notice these things. But this isn't pain from his injuries. This is something else. I need to tell you something, he says quietly, that I've never told anyone. But first, why are you bringing this up now, after 40 years? Maggie's voice breaks. The words spill out. Because my daughter is dying, leukemia, stage 4. She needs a bone marrow transplant, and we have no family to test. No one, and that birthmark. It can't be a coincidence. It can't be. She's crying now, she realizes, standing in this billionaire's hospital room crying. The birthmark is identical, she continues. Same location, same shape, and you were there at Peterson Mining. The same time I was pregnant, I found the photo, I saw you. Caldwell's face crumbles. For a moment, the powerful billionaire disappears, and Maggie sees something else, a man carrying a weight he can barely stand. Oh God, he whispers. Oh God, I hoped this day would never come. What day? Maggie demands. What are you talking about? Caldwell looks at her, and his eyes are filled with something that looks like genuine anguish. I'm talking about the truth, he says. The truth about what happened in 1985, the truth about your husband, about Emma, about everything. He takes a shaky breath. I've spent 40 years burying this, 40 years building an empire, giving away billions, trying to atone for what I did, but it's never been enough, and now, he looks at Maggie. Now your daughter is dying because of choices I made when I was 24 years old. Maggie's blood runs cold. What did you do? Caldwell closes his eyes. When he opens them again, they're wet with tears. Something unforgivable. Caldwell begins to speak, and as he does, Maggie feels the floor drop out from beneath her. Summer of 1985, he says. I was 24 years old, young, arrogant, fresh out of Stanford with a geology degree and ideas I thought would change the world. Peterson Mining hired me to develop a new extraction process, something revolutionary. I was working 80-hour weeks, living in a cheap motel. I had no friends, no life outside that mine. He pauses, his voice thick with shame. I started drinking a lot to deal with the stress, the isolation. I told myself it was under control. It was. Maggie listens, frozen. The company picnic, Caldwell continues. July 4th, 1985, I showed up already half drunk. Everyone else was with their families, their kids, and I was alone in a suit because I didn't know how to be anything else. His voice drops. There was a young woman there, the wife of one of the foremen, beautiful. She looked sad, lost. We started talking. She mentioned her husband was always working, never home, always at the mine or sleeping. She felt invisible. Maggie's chest tightens. She remembers that summer. Michael was working double shifts. She was 6 months pregnant and lonely. Talked for hours, Caldwell says. I was drunk, really drunk, and maybe she was too, I don't know. I don't remember everything clearly, but we made a terrible mistake. One night in my car away from the picnic. Maggie can't breathe. I never saw her again, Caldwell whispers. I avoided the mine sites after that, stayed in my office. I told myself it was nothing, a drunken mistake that would disappear. His hands clench into fists. But 2 weeks later, Michael Hayes confronted me. He showed up at my motel at 2 in the morning. Somehow he knew. Maybe she told him. Maybe he suspected something. I don't know. Maggie's mind is screaming. She doesn't remember any of this. Doesn't remember talking to a young man at a picnic. Doesn't remember any of it. Michael threatened to expose me, Caldwell says. Said it would ruin me, and he was right. I was days away from securing venture capital funding for my startup. Millions of dollars, my entire future. He wanted money. A lot of it, $50,000 to keep quiet. Caldwell's voice hardens. I refused. We argued. It got heated, physical. He grabbed me. I pushed him. We fought. He stops, takes a breath. The mining accident that killed Michael Hayes wasn't an accident. Maggie's world tilts. What are you saying? I'm saying, Caldwell's voice cracks, that I sabotaged the equipment in that restricted section. I knew Michael would be there. He was always checking things no one else would. Made it look like a malfunction. 3 men died that day, 3, and I let it happen. Maggie staggers backward. You killed my husband. Yes, Caldwell's face is wet with tears. I killed him to protect my future, to protect my company, and I've lived with that every single day for 40 years. The room spins. Maggie grabs the door handle to steady herself. But Caldwell doesn't know something critical. He doesn't know about the DNA test sitting on Maggie's kitchen counter. The one she took 3 weeks ago, desperately searching for distant relatives who might save Emma. The one that's about to prove that the truth is even more complicated than his 40-year lie. Because sometimes blood doesn't lie, even when everything else does. Maggie is shaking, tears streaming down her face. Her whole body feels like it's breaking apart. You killed my husband? Caldwell is crying now too, real tears. No, I swear to you, that's what I've lived with, the guilt of thinking I caused it. But I didn't kill him. What are you talking about? Maggie's voice is raw. Michael Hayes died in that accident because he went into a restricted area he was explicitly told to avoid. He wasn't supposed to be there. None of them were. He was trying to sabotage the equipment, to shut down the mine, to cost me money, to hurt me however he could. Caldwell's voice breaks. But something went wrong. He triggered a collapse. The tunnel caved in. 3 men died that day, Maggie. 3. And I've carried that weight ever since, knowing that my actions, my affair with his wife, my refusal to pay him, pushed him to do something so reckless. He looks at her with desperate eyes. I've spent 40 years trying to atone, funding safety initiatives, supporting mining families, donating billions to causes that help people like the ones who died that day. But it's never been enough. It will never be enough. Maggie can barely process what she's hearing. Her husband, the man she thought she knew. Trying to sabotage a mine? But Emma, she whispers, are you saying? I don't know, Caldwell says honestly. The timing, it's possible. If what happened between us that night, if she's mine, he stops, takes a breath. But you said your husband had the same birthmark. Yes. Then maybe Emma is his daughter. Maybe the birthmark is just an impossible coincidence, a genetic quirk. I don't know. The room falls silent except for the sound of medical equipment beeping steadily. Maggie stares at this man. This billionaire who may have destroyed her life, or may hold the key to saving it. There's only one way to know for sure, she says quietly. Caldwell nods, and both of them understand. The answer, whatever it is, will determine whether Emma lives or dies. Caldwell doesn't hesitate, not for a second. Test me, he says. If there's any chance I can save your daughter, we do this now, tonight. Maggie arranges it quietly. A rapid DNA paternity test, just a cheek swab from Caldwell. She already has Emma's DNA on file from all the medical testing. The lab tech asks no questions. Maggie's worked at this hospital for 38 years. People trust her. The results will take 48 hours. 48 hours that feel like 48 years. Maggie goes through the motions, shows up for her shifts, checks vitals, administers medications, smiles at patients. But inside, she's falling apart. She visits Emma every day, sits beside her bed, holds her hand. Watches her daughter sleep, so pale and fragile, and she doesn't tell her anything. Not yet, not until she knows. How do you tell your dying daughter that everything she knows about her father might be a lie? That the man she's mourned her entire life might not have been her biological father at all? That her real father might be a billionaire who's been alive this whole time, living a life of luxury while she struggled? Maggie can't. Not yet. At home, she pulls out old photo albums, studies Michael's face. His smile, his eyes, tries to see Emma in him. And she does, or at least she thinks she does. But now she's second-guessing everything. Was their marriage a lie? Did Michael know? Is that why he was so distant that summer, working those double shifts? Was he running from the truth? Or was he exactly who she thought he was? A good man, a loving husband who died tragically in an accident? Maggie doesn't know anymore. 40 years of memories feel suddenly unreliable. Like looking at old photographs that have faded and blurred until you can't quite make out the faces. The only thing she knows for certain is this. In 48 hours, she'll have an answer, and that answer will change everything. 48 hours later, Maggie and Caldwell meet in a private conference room at St. Benedict S. Dr. Patricia Rodriguez is there too. Maggie asked her to be present to help interpret the results. The envelope sits on the table between them. Plain, white, unremarkable. Inside it, the answer to everything. Maggie's hands shake as she reaches for it. Caldwell sits across from her, silent. His face is gray. He looks like he hasn't slept. She tears it open, pulls out the report. Her eyes scan the page, looking for the number that matters. And there it is. Probability of paternity, 0%. James Caldwell is not Emma's biological father. Maggie feels something crash through her. Relief, confusion, grief all at once. She can barely breathe. But the birthmark, she whispers. How is that possible? Caldwell slumps in his chair. I don't understand. Dr. Rodriguez reaches across the table. May I see the genetic markers? Maggie hands her the report. Patricia studies it carefully, her eyes moving across the page, and then she stops. Her expression changes. This is extraordinary, she says quietly. What? Maggie leans forward. What is it? Patricia looks at Caldwell. Mr. Caldwell, do you have any siblings? Particularly a twin? No, he shakes his head. I was an only child. My parents told me that my entire life. Are you certain? Of course I'm certain. I would know if I had a sibling. Patricia sets down the report and looks at him seriously. Mr. Caldwell, according to these genetic markers, Emma shares approximately 25% of your DNA. That's consistent with you being her biological uncle, not her father, her uncle. The room goes silent. That's impossible, Caldwell says. I don't have any siblings. The DNA doesn't lie, Patricia says. Emma is related to you closely, which means someone in your immediate family is her biological father. Maggie's mind is spinning. But if you don't have a brother, I don't, Caldwell insists. My mother had one child, me, that's it. Patricia looks at him carefully. Mr. Caldwell, are you absolutely certain your parents told you the truth? And suddenly Caldwell's face changes. A memory has just surfaced, something he buried long ago. Oh my God, he whispers. Dr. Rodriguez continues, her voice steady and clinical. The genetic markers show significant overlap between you and Emma, not parent-child, but close familial relation, approximately 25% shared DNA. That's consistent with uncle-niece. Which means, Maggie can barely form the words. Caldwell suddenly goes pale. His hand grips the edge of the table. Wait, he says, my mother. She had a difficult pregnancy with me, high risk. After she died 10 years ago, I was going through her things. I found her journal, personal writings I'd never seen before. He stops, his voice catching. She mentioned she'd been pregnant before in 1960. She was young, unmarried. Her family was strict, religious. They forced her to give the baby up for adoption, a boy. The room goes completely silent. Maggie does the math in her head, 1960. That child would be 64 years old now, the same age as Caldwell. Michael Hayes was 25 when he died in 1985, born in 1960. Dr. Rodriguez speaks carefully. Mr. Caldwell, do you know what happened to that baby, where he was adopted, what his name was? No, Caldwell whispers. My mother never said. The adoption was closed. She never spoke about it. I only found out after she died. Maggie's heart is pounding. Michael was adopted. He told me that once. He said his adoptive parents died when he was young, and he never knew anything about his birth family. Patricia looks between them. Michael Hayes and James Caldwell were half-brothers. The words hang in the air. Two half-brothers who never knew they were related. Two men who worked in the same mine, lived in the same town, existed in the same world, and never knew they shared blood. One slept with the other's wife, not knowing. And their shared genetics, including that distinctive birthmark, passed down through Michael to Emma. So Emma is Michael's daughter, Maggie says, tears streaming down her face. She is his, she was always his. Yes, Patricia confirms, but Maggie sees something else in Patricia's expression, something unspoken. There's more, isn't there? The bone marrow test comes back within days. Caldwell is a close enough match, not perfect, but close enough. The transplant can proceed. 3 months later, Emma is in remission. The doctors are cautiously optimistic. She's recovering well, gaining strength every day. Maggie and Caldwell meet at a coffee shop in downtown Billings. It's awkward, two strangers bound together by blood and tragedy, but they're trying. I've hired a private investigator, Caldwell tells her, to find out more about the adoption, my mother's history. Michael deserved to know he had a brother. Maggie nods slowly. He did, but James, Michael wasn't a saint. I requested the sealed files from the accident investigation. He was trying to sabotage the mine. He was planning to blackmail you, and knowing him the way I did, he would have kept coming back for more money. She looks Caldwell in the eye. Your mistake in 1985 didn't kill him. His choices did. Caldwell has established a foundation in Michael Hayes' name, supporting mining safety and children of mining families. Millions of dollars dedicated to the brother he never knew. Emma has chosen to meet Caldwell. Slowly, carefully, they're building a relationship, uncle and niece. Maggie watches them now in the hospital garden. Emma shows Caldwell the birthmark on her arm. He shows her his. They laugh. 40 years ago, a birthmark connected two brothers who never knew each other existed. Today, that same birthmark saved a life and gave them all a second chance at family. Sometimes the truth sets you free, even when it's the last thing you wanted to find.